Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Faik Kaoglu. I'm joining here from Wacom. And I would like to say welcome to you being with us during this 1 hour webinar organized by Explain Everything and then Wacom. We are going to talk here about create videos like Sal Khan here together with my two speakers. Stacey, Roshan is going to support us here as one of the speaker, and of course Reshan Richards on the other side. Let's start with Stacey to give us a little bit introduction. Stacey, from your side.
Thank you so much. So my name is Stacey Roshan, and I am the Director of Innovation and Educational Technology at my school, which means that I get to work with teachers K through 12 in integrating technology into their classroom, playing with the tools that best work to support all learners and empower their voices. And I also have a website that's techiemusings.com. If you want to get in contact with me, that's the best way. Or if you're on Twitter, I am very active on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @BuddyXO, and I'm also the author of Tech with Heart.
Thank you, Stacey. Reshan, maybe to you, some background from your side.
Okay, and it's a pleasure to be here with both of you and everybody else who's tuning in or watching this recording. I'm one of the co-founders of Explain Everything, and my background is in teaching in K-12. I was professionally raised as a middle school math teacher, and then eventually went into technology and ed tech administration, and I still continue to be present in schools, both in the K-12 and in the higher ed space.
Great, Stacey, Reshan. Before we are going into this hands-on explanation from your side, let us understand a little bit more background, how and what you're doing. And maybe the first question from my side, what originally inspired you to start creating videos? Just really from your perspective, when did you start and what was really the trigger for this?
Maybe all right, Stacey. I'll start.
Yeah.
I'll start. So for me, back in 2009, I started teaching. It was my second year teaching AP Calculus, and I felt like it was going at lightning speed. Like there was so much content to get through in that course, and time was just this real pressure point. And so I was just looking for a better way. So I went to this conference. I learned about screencasting, and I immediately was like, okay, this is my solution. I'm going to offload the very teacher-directed portion of class to video so that I could free up time. And my goal was really to alleviate the anxiety in the classroom, the anxiety of students going home and having to do like really difficult problem sets, getting stuck on it, and then, feeling like they were spending so much time on their homework without like all the results that they felt they should get. And so I started flipping my classroom in 2010 in AP Calculus, and then I started flipping my instruction from there. And now we have so many tools that we
And for me, it's very similar. I was, around that same period, I became familiar with screencasting, screen recording tools for like desktop. Not everything existed all in one on a laptop, or iPads didn't exist then or anything like that. So I was aware of the technology, but never had any kind of real urgency to try until I got called for jury duty, and I knew I was going to be out for consecutive days for the first time in my professional career. And I was like, here becomes a place where how can I capture some of my direct instruction and give it to my sub or who was covering me, so that I can maintain the continuity of experience for students in all of my classes. And so that was where I combined my physical interactive whiteboard, the screencasting software I was using, my course page that I was using at the time. And then my students responded really well to it. And then my kind of real deep interest in this form of communication or communicating knowledge came when I started asking what happens when my students start to communicate their knowledge in a similar way. And I've been, of course, a fan and advocate for demonstrating understanding through whiteboard video making, well, since then.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of experience, but it looks like also like a learning process, really learning and developing and evolving during the time with the technology, but also personally. Just from your perspective, what would you say is most important to creating a good explainer video, just to make it really here more specific?
I think I can start, and Stacey, feel free to add or jump in or correct anything I might share. I think you want to first think about the context, right? Who's the audience? And then is it something that needs to be watched once and only once? Is it something you're going to want somebody to go back to and repeat to? Is it something that you're going to want future audiences to use? So I think that informs your preparation. I've created just in time, 30-second, here's how to do the procedures for this particular task. And it takes 30 seconds to record and that's it, it's done. There are other things where I want to put some thought into my talk track or script and really be clear, because the audience I'm serving, there's a different need there. So I think regardless of what it is, you really just want to be clear about who's the audience and the purpose. And I think that's going to set you up for being really efficient and productive with your time in making whiteboard videos.
Yeah, that was super well said. When I'm thinking about like my math specific videos for my classroom, a lot of times you have to be super explicit because students can't interrupt with questions. And I think this is where our experience comes in. Like, I can't imagine flipping my classroom without having taught the class first. But since I had taught it, I knew kind of where students were going to have questions, and I anticipated those things. And I really made sure that I kind of built them in, or that, I even said in my video, like, this is going to be a really challenging example that we're going to do next. We're going to discuss it in class to follow up if you get confused, but please, make sure that you're paying good attention this first time, so the second time that we do it together, it's going to feel totally different. Also, I think it's really important in the style that I do it, where students watch a video and that's their only homework. So my videos are on the longer end, and that's their only homework that they have, that they are doing something while they're watching the video. So I actually, and in the demo portion, I'll show you how I set things up, but I create like a PowerPoint or Google Slides structure, and I actually print that out so that students have that to take notes on. They take notes, they bring that to class. It flows into what we do the next day in class as we have a discussion. So it doesn't feel like learning just happens through this quick video that's like done. It's a continuation.
Mm-hmm. Is there a guidance from your side, from both of you, how long an explainer video should be? That means about the length?
I don't know if there's a scientific recommendation, but I will say that regardless of the total length, any opportunity you have to like chunk content, I think serves learners best. So you can have 90 minutes of material, but you want to be really thoughtful in the design of like, where can there be these breakpoints, so that if you want to break it up into separate videos, or at least like the learner can pause there and feel like they can do what they need to like think, reflect before hitting resume. I think that's the kind of the consideration, rather than saying like, oh, there is probably research, and maybe Stacey, you have some familiarity of like, what's the quote attention span, or like maximum time that somebody can kind of be in a watching, listening, consuming mode. Yeah. Personally, I try to keep my chunks, my segments, certainly under 7 minutes, but 3 to 4 minutes where possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will say that I break all the rules of what I see everybody else always posting and advising. I mean, I always see people say 5 to 7 minutes, 7 minutes maximum, never over 10 minutes. And okay, so again, like, this is where your students, your school, your style, how you're assigning things. This is my only homework in AP Calculus. When I was teaching Honors Algebra 2, their only homework. And so my videos are more 20 minutes, even a 25-minute video would be a normal thing. I do assign my videos through Edpuzzle so that it does stop them and they have to answer questions along the way. They're also taking notes, so they have to pause the video and bringing notes to class as part of their preparation, but that has worked super well for my students, and they would rather watch one video than have multiple videos to watch. So again, like, I think this is one where you have to try things out in your classroom and know what works best for you. And so that one size fits all approach, it just, you know, it doesn't really work for that reason.
Yeah, yeah. But good explanation. But if we have somebody who's maybe a starter, who's getting started, what would be your key advices to somebody who's just getting started to making explainer videos? Just really from your perspective, 2-3 advice. What do you think? These are really key to see also the success maybe on the other side and learn.
I think like creating an outline, going in, knowing I don't script my videos, but I know what I'm going to say. I know what I'm going to get across, just like when we come to the classroom, right? Like, we know what we want to deliver that day, but just making sure that kind of thinking through how long it's going to take. Also, sometimes on video, you just in the classroom, maybe you would dive a little bit further on a topic, and in a video, just make it a little bit shorter and more concise. I do think concision matters in the video, even though I just said I went on for 20 minutes, but they are rather concise. It is something that would have taken 45 minutes in the classroom, keep in mind. And also, I think it's really important to be writing and talking, or doing something on the screen and talking. And if something's not happening on your screen, then your video is on. So for me, I keep my video off. I prefer to just have the focus be on my screen because I'm writing the whole time. I'm doing math questions. But if something's not happening on the screen, I think it's important to have a video or something so that they stay engaged.
And I fully agree with the preparation side, that you don't have to have a full-on like proofread script, but you need a plan, and that'll help going in. And then if you have regular routine access to your audience, soliciting feedback, right? Because ultimately, it's not just about you getting what you want out, but it actually has to resonate with those whom you're trying to communicate with. So finding out for them, for that year, that class might have this certain preference, this certain way that things are resonating. And then as teachers, we're always pulling from our toolkit, right? Because no learners are the same, but we recognize patterns, and we have things that we develop in ourselves that we're better at. Like, you'll see later, my handwriting is not so great, but I find ways to like get around that, so I'm not making my students suffer trying to like understand a concept, but they can't decipher what I've written on the board. Like, that's not fair. So it's little things like that.
Great. How long do you usually spend editing a video you've created before it's ready to share, really, that you are bringing this really live and say, now it is ready for my students, it is ready, that it is satisfying also the expectations, the own expectations?
I spend very little time doing post-production, unless it's for a purpose where I have limited access to my audience. Because generally, just like Stacey said, this type of communication and of sharing works best when you've already got an ongoing routine relationship with the audience. So the naturalness, the humanity that comes out in the imprecision, the ums, the likes, the occasional pauses, that your audience understands you. In fact, it might even be comforting to them. Whereas if I got asked to create an instructional video on solving something that's going to be published on some, online course that I have no connection with, I might take a little bit more time in my preparation and construction. So I think that time varies as the strength of relationship with audience.
Stacey,
I also think it comes down to like having the right setup and the right tools. So like I enjoy video editing, so I'll spend more time on it. Also, like, keep in mind, you have to watch the whole thing. So if I'm making 20-minute videos, usually I end up and this is again my preference and what I enjoy doing. But a lot of these are ones that I know I'm going to reuse for years over. So maybe I'll take 2 takes of me solving a problem, even 3 takes of me solving a problem, and I watch myself back. So I think I've become a much better teacher because of this, because I watch myself back and I'll say like, oh, this way of explaining it was clearer than the other way. Again, like I've enjoyed doing that over the years. And then, so it takes me a little bit longer to record for that reason. But when you have the right technology, and when we get into the demo portion, I'll also show this, like explain everything, you can easily kind of edit yourself as you're going. You make a mistake, you can kind of redo a retake. Whereas when I started making videos, there wasn't explain everything. And if I made a mistake, I literally like had to go back, edit in a chunk. It's a totally different ball game. So I think a lot of it does come down to the right setup, the right tools. You'll save yourself a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, before we go now to the demo part, last question, what tips would you give to make the videos more Khan-like? Just very specific now.
So one thing that I think is really special about the way that Khan does his videos is they're very to the point. So you go in, and students love that. They go in, they're going to learn something in particular. They're not fancy. Like there's no production value in it. You're going there, you're watching him solve the problem. It's not overly produced, edited, and all that stuff. So, speaking of editing, I said I edit my videos, but I also, when I'm writing, I let students see me write. Sometimes I'll like make that a little bit sped up, but I want students to be watching the video and like doing it with me. And I think that's when I watch a Khan Academy video, that is what I feel. I feel that I'm watching it and he's writing and talking. And I really like that format myself. So I'm very much a fan of the way that Khan creates his videos.
And I think there's a very like recognizable aesthetic to videos that are published on Khan Academy. And, I think there's a really nice style. So of course you can, make a dark background and find some nice pastel-y pens, which I'll show. But I think that the meta level that makes that effective is that there's kind of a consistency. So you're not constantly having to reorient yourself towards a new design. So if this becomes a practice that you're using in your classroom, you're doing your audience, your students a favor by creating this familiarity so that they're not trying to figure out like what's going to be the structure or the presentation format of the video. It's not changing week to week. Oh, lime green Monday, hot pink Tuesday. Like that may not be the way to develop that kind of, where it's not just about the novelty of it, like it's part of the learning rhythm. And I think that consistency of format serves that.
Great. Thank you for giving this insights. Now I would say now it's time really to jump onto the demo parts to make it more tangible and really to give the audience also the opportunity to show it. Maybe Stacey, we start with you and then after that we jump, of course, to Reshan.
That sounds great with me. So I'm going to be demoing today. This is what I use to make my videos, which is the Wacom 1. So this is, you can see, a display style tablet. And I have this really nice pen that I just got, which is a dream to write on with this. So it feels very much like a pencil in my hand. So I really like this. And this is my setup. So even though we're talking about Khan Academy style videos, I am going to show you kind of more of like how I make the videos. So the one difference that I do have in the way that I make them is I do start with kind of slides. So my style is a little bit more slide oriented. And I'm going to just share with you why I like this style and how it benefits me. So that's the only difference that I'll be sharing today. So let me show you how I get started with things. So I get started by obviously creating a new, and I'll just start, there are a bunch of templates in here and you can also import, but I just started with a blank canvas and then you can join with your microphone so I can record as I talk. And then I'm going to just import. So I already created, why is this not pulling in now? But I already
chose photo, not file.
Oh, see, thank you. File, my device. Here we go. So I already created it as a PDF. I just exported my slides as a PDF. And you have different options here. So you have the option to actually like kind of make it more of a whiteboard style video where all of them are on one slide and you zoom in and out. But I like to import it as separate slides. So I'm going to make 8 separate slides for the 8 separate pages. So now that I have it kind of set up, then I can just get going. And so, you know, I usually have my drawing tools ready, and then I'm ready personally to record. I record and I talk at the same time. So I can just start recording and introduce things. Now, something that I love using is the laser pointer tool. So if I go down to, where am I? Why am I not, sorry, I'm messing up my demo. My screen is not zoomed in as I normally am.
Oh, I think just a couple more buttons down below the delete.
I know, it's supposed to, oh, there we go. It wouldn't go down anymore. All right, here we go. So the laser pointer tool, I have different laser buttons. So, you know, you can have the pointer so you can talk and point. And I think that's really important, to talk and point at the same time if you're not going to be writing. You have some different tools here to have a little bit of fun. And then you can pause as you're going, and I can stop the video. And what I really like about recording by slide is when I mess up, like I inevitably will, or like I just did, you can delete the recording for this whole thing, or you can trim the piece of the recording that you want to delete, and you can do a retake of it. So that is really one of the reasons that I really like recording by slide, because inevitably you're gonna like record one and say like, this one was just a mess, I want to delete it. And I can easily do that, or I could start all the way at the beginning. So I can scrub around, I can play it to see how it sounds, but I could also just scrub to the beginning and say, you know, like, I just want to delete everything, I want to start over again and re-record. Also within here, you can be zooming, you can be panning, all those things on the screen. Let me go to my next slide and go back up. Okay, to my pen tools that I have here. So now I can go to another slide that's more instructional. Why is my clicking not working? There we go. So my instructional slides are a little bit more like I leave a lot of blank space. So here I would have a couple of graphs so that maybe I could zoom in, zoom out on certain areas and explain as I'm talking. But if I go over to this slide, this is how I usually set them up. So I like to have the question. And again, students get this, and I actually print it out and hand it out to all of them. So they get this in advance so that they have all this space to write. And so as I'm writing, I'm talking, and I talk the whole time. And I'm like, you know, highlighting and underlining as I'm reading the problem to them. And then, you know, I might be talking about the problem, and I do write and talk at the same time. I would press the record button, obviously, and then I would go. And so another thing that I really like about this type of like creating it by slides like I have here is after I produce this video, so I'm going to publish this video ultimately, right? You share the video and students all get a link. And then as we were talking about before, that we learn and we grow from student feedback. So maybe I presented this example went well, but then to the, you know, whatever, to link from example 1 to example 2, students got really confused along the way. There was something that I was missing. And so for the next year, or maybe I have a next class period and they're on different paces and I have some time to go back, instead of having to like edit this as a full-on video, what I can do is I can insert a new slide into this. I can add a slide and I can insert something between example 1 and example 2, just record one slide, and then publish this thing for students to watch the next version. And now I've inserted another, slide in between without having to like redo an entire video, which is a lot. So that really helps in terms of my efficiency. And again, when I'm doing this, I just think it's so important as I'm working to continually be, writing and talking and showing what I'm doing. So step by step, I'm constantly writing and talking or pointing and talking. So normally I don't have my setup where they're seeing like my camera like this. Usually it's just a screen share. And so that's why I say that going down to the laser pointer and making sure that I have the funky laser tool, making sure that you're pointing and talking just to keep their eyes so they know where to focus, I think is really important. So those are some of my just like essential tips that I have there. So again, how I set this up is I start with the PowerPoint slide, and then I export it as a PDF so that I can go over and I can, again, when you start a new project, you have the ability to start from a blank canvas, a template, which can be really nice. But you can also just start by importing a file. You can start with a blank canvas too. And then that was what I did. Go ahead and join. And then I can just import a file in here and pull it in. I can also just pull in a picture, but I think that by doing it that way, I kind of have my scene set. So again, that's like my ultimate structure that I have. I can go in here and edit. And you can publish this video multiple times. So like I said originally, like I would publish this video for my first period to watch. And then maybe I saw that, I needed to insert another slide. I just publish the video again and I get a new link for students to join with. And it kind of has my updated slides. So those are my basics. There's also a nice highlighter tool here, which I do want to just show because if I'm on another slide, then, this is a really nice way to be able to point certain things out. If I'm reading, like if I'm reading to them again, like I like to highlight and talk just like I'm telling students to take notes. That's an important process too. Like, how do students take notes? How do they even know how to take notes? I really try and guide them through that process and everything that I'm doing as I'm making the video, thinking about what their viewing experience is like. So I think those are my main demo points that I have that I really wanted to express today. My favorite things, again, are just like that ability to re-record a slide is really key. And again, that was something that I didn't have when I was recording. And then let me just show you really quickly. Let me record. Okay, so let's record. And I'm explaining this to you. And it's great. Stop. Let me just give it one moment so that you can see. There we go. So now you can see that I actually use my pen to do the editing too, because it's very precise. So maybe I want to delete this section right here. You just select here to select what you want to delete. And it's very natural with the pen. And I can be very precise in saying, okay, I want to delete just this portion and stitch it back together. And then maybe here I saw that I, had some dead space. So again, select, and then I can just quickly edit that, trim it, and go on. And I can see that I was writing here. So I definitely don't want to delete anything while I'm writing. So I like that indicator just as a good reminder as I'm watching this. So that's how I kind of go back and maybe trim any very long pauses that I might have. But again, I want to make sure that students have enough time to write. So I don't want to overly trim that either. Okay. I think I'm going to stop sharing and let Roshan go ahead and share.
Stacey, thank you very much. I think, again, using here Wacom 1 and really showing on the display how you are writing and talking. This is, I think, one of the topics. And of course, the key element, what you're underlining here is recording. And with this, you are making mathematics more exciting, and I'm sure then all the students they are going to love math here in this case. With this, maybe Reshan, your demo and your experience, how you are using it, just to complete the picture from the other angle.
Yeah, thank you. And Stacey, that was great, especially going deep on the recording and editing functions. I'm glad to see how well it worked with the pen precision. So I'm going to be using another Wacom one, but this is the one that does not have a display. And I've got this connected to my computer, and I've got my stylus here. I do not have the fancy pen that Stacey got, but this is very fancy too, and I'm very happy using it. And I'm going to be sharing my browser window here. I'll walk you through a few things. So one thing you'll notice here, in contrast to what Stacey has shared, like I'd set up a dark background. I've got this black background here. So Stacey had popped up the slide sorter when she was navigating between her slides. But for every slide, there's this little color bar, and you've got some options for different background colors and some just patterns and things like that. One of the defaults when Stacey was showing the new project was to choose from template. One of the template picker options is to just set these colors out the gate. So that might be something interesting if you like that dark background, bright pen color. The other thing that I did was I set up my pens to have some colors that I like. So I've got a white, a yellow, a light blue, or kind of a lightish red, and a green, because I feel confident that these are gonna pop outside of the dark background. So that takes all of 10 seconds just to get the theme set up in a way that might help you achieve some of those similar effects. I'm going to switch slides here. So I also imported an image, and I'm just going to show you. I'm going to unmute my microphone, and I'm going to hit record and talk you through this. So in the face-to-face classroom, some of the things that people like to write upon would be a pen and paper, or a chalkboard, or a flip chart, maybe not in a classroom that you're having coffee with a napkin. But these are all kind of the natural places to have this ink flowy, very humane and human way of visually presenting ideas. And one of the challenges, I think, when you're across distance, or even in the classroom when you're projecting, unless you've gotten familiar with interactive whiteboards, is that you sometimes have to sacrifice that scribble, the mess that you do, and you end up having much more rigid presentation forms, whether it's just a PowerPoint or just things being shared. So I love what Stacey shared, and that she's still constructing the base of her content in another tool that's designed for very clear presentation of information, but then she's really bringing it to life and like bringing it to her and to her students by activating it and visualizing it in a whiteboard tool. Okay, so I just recorded a 1 minute 14 second thing, and that right there, if anybody found value in it, I'm gonna hit play just so we can hear it come back. So in the face-to-face classroom, some of the things that people... Oh, was the audio coming through? I forgot to hear share audio when I did the screen share. Oh, cool, thanks. So what Stacey also mentioned is I can just hit create web video link, and right away, the second this pops up, I've got a link here that I can share and to the world. So right now, that 1 minute and 14 seconds talking through some thoughts about writing materials and the differences and so on, it only took me 1 minute 14 seconds. The preparation I had done, of course, was I'd constructed these images in a way that I wanted to be able to use them, but then the actual production can be just as short as the real time of recording. And then I would consider my audience and say, do I want to go back and make some polish or add or expand? But for this purpose, I'm keeping it really short. Let me show you some other examples here. So this comes from one of my favorite math organizations. I realize both our backgrounds in math, and so we like to talk about mathematical work, but certainly this approach spans any kind of discipline where you're trying to communicate ideas, concepts, topics. This works. But so there's an organization that does these amazing problems, the Math Olympiad. So if you're a math person, please check these out. But I'm going to record. I'm going to show how I might create a video about this problem in two ways. One is going to be kind of like the teacher and doing what Stacey had recommended, like talking and writing at the same time. I might even turn off my camera here so that I don't get distracted, so I can really be present in what I'm writing, and maybe so that you don't all have to see the top of my head during the webinar. So here we go. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to go to my pen tool. I'm just going to choose this white pen. Okay, so we've got a problem here. I'm going to go to my pointer. Sarah and Josh each threw 5 darts at the target shown. Sarah scored 19 points by landing 2 darts in A and 3 in B. Let's assume it's referring to these. Josh scored 17 points by landing 1 dart in A and 4 in B. How many points are given for a dart landing in A? For those who love algebra, you may recognize this is actually a system of linear equations. For those who do not worry about it. But here's how we would solve it. So let's see. Let's think about Sarah first. So she had 19 points, and let's use A. She had 2 darts in A and 3 darts in B. Okay, so let's now think about Josh, who had 17 points by landing 1 dart in A and 4 in B. So class, if you remember last time when approaching problems like this, one of the things I told you was look for the variable that might be the easiest to isolate. And in this case, whenever there's just one of it, that's probably the one we want. So let's see, let's subtract 4B from both sides. And so I'm going to stop here because I don't know if everybody wants math instruction on this afternoon or morning or evening, depending on when you're chiming in. But I hope that was clear that that was one way that I can, in real time, just talk through. I'm being a little bit more deliberate about communicating with my audience, the students. And hopefully you picked up on. Go to my pen tool. I'm just going to choose this white pen. Okay, so we've got a problem here. I'm going to go to my pointer. Sarah and Josh each threw 5 darts at the target shown. Sarah scored 19. So again, it's like a real-time effort to output. I don't think I would have had this external narrative talking through all my actions for my students. They wouldn't have needed to hear that. And so over time, like this is what's being built for them. Another way that I could have done this is, I'm actually going to go to the beginning. I'm going to delete everything, sorry. And this time before recording, I'm actually just going to solve the problem. And this actually is something that my students would often do, is to first look at the problem and then do the work. And I'll just focus on like setting up the equation for now. 2A plus 3B, so I'm not recording. I'm just doing work. I'm writing on a web browser. This is amazing, right? Like, and it feels, this is what my handwriting actually looks like, just like I said before. There's no, it's not worse because of the technology. This is actually it. So I've actually got work down here. And one of my students, instead of my students who may not, it may be difficult for them to explain while thinking about all of those things, they first show their work, and then maybe using the pointer and the zoom tool, just like Stacey was doing, I'm going to now use my student voice. Oh, hi, Mr. Richards. Here's how I set up this problem. I noticed that 19, 2, and A probably are setting up an equation that looks like this. And then the second equation would look like this one. And I bet when I go to solve this, 1A is going to be the variable that I solve for, and that's going to set me up for success. Maybe that's not how a middle school student actually talks, but I hope you get the idea that there are other ways to use a whiteboard space to like demonstrate understanding. That's not just like, hey, showing all of the steps, but you can actually do the work and then use a whiteboard as like a reflective space. So that's a whole nother dimension of communicating understanding. Not do they just follow the procedures correctly, but can they actually go back and reflect upon like their choices and the things that they're making, which is kind of hard to do, I think, for young people, but that's a skill to grow while they're in the midst of following those procedures. Oh, I realized my camera was off, so you can see my face and all of my gesticulations. Imagine all sorts of dramatic actions that I was looking at the camera with, and that is what you had missed. So that's like two ways to approach whiteboard video making, like recording while you're doing it, or putting it all out there and then still using the whiteboard and movement tools, the pointer, the zoom, to still have this attention drawing aspect that doesn't necessarily always have to be ink. And I think that's a key thing to think about. The one last kind of trick I'll show. So again, I love this organization, so I'm sort of plugging them too. If you ever want great math problems or a great competitive environment. But here's a PDF that I grabbed. And sometimes this is one of the tools that's just a cutout. Like I can grab things out of existing content and quickly like break things apart. So if I didn't really want this whole screen here, I'm gonna get rid of you. All of a sudden I can start pulling things out. So you don't have to do double, triple, quadruple work. You can use your existing materials in order to more quickly start producing things. And then over time, your library is there. I believe there was a question, someone was asking what kind of tablet I'm using. I can stop my share so my video screen hopefully is a little bit bigger. I'm using the one by Wacom, and this is it. And I got this pen, and I did spend a little bit of time configuring a few things because of my setup. For example, I reversed the orientation so that because of where the USB port is on my computer. And then I also, it comes with these awesome buttons where you can assign functions to it. So if I was less clumsy, I would assign one of these buttons as the eraser so that I could quickly toggle between pen and eraser. However, I am not deft at those types of things and my fingers keep like hitting things. So I've chose to turn that off. But somebody, again, who's a little bit more coordinated than me, I think could really, really find some great efficiencies in programming these buttons to do their frequent use functions. Like if you're always using the pointer, Stacey, you might say like, hey, you know what? Bottom button is pointer, top button is back to pen, and then really fluidly. On the web version, which Stacey and I both were using, there's a whole bunch of keyboard shortcuts too. So this is what I'm practicing right now, which is writing with my right hand, because I'm right-handed, but with my left hand, I use D to go to draw tool, V to go back to hand tool and stuff. And this is what takes practice, but not like years and years, like 5 minutes. And then you can figure out routines that work for you. Because chances are, if you're making videos, you're gonna find like 4 or 5 repeatable routines that work well for you. And that's where that efficiency comes. That's what I've got for you, Faik. I hope that was helpful.
That was great. Great. So I would say thank you very much also to both of you. Very impressive and great how you are using really technology in your in how you are teaching and with your students. And I think this is also the main I would say purpose in this kind of discussions of the technology to enable you to really bring this in your context and that you can really use it, and that gives you the output you need really to bring better quality content, time, and of course, in a way, also the learning in general to support the learning. For this, I would say impressive and very good. And I think if the audience has also other questions, they just can ask them. They can also reach out afterwards to us and ask the questions, and we are happy to answer them. With this, let me summarize this. And this what also Reshan showed, the tablet. This is something we are going to have also as a giveaway. That means we are going to draw a name from those who are attending on the webinar, and then the winner is getting an email about this. That means there is something you can win. Also here, just because you are joining, this is the one thing. The other thing is we have also an exclusive offer for educators. Again, Stacey used the Wacom One, which is the display where you're writing directly on the display. And Reshan, he wrote on the tablet. With this, his display is free, and then he can really coordinate this in a different way. That means that what he's putting this on the tablet is shown on the display. The offer is going to be available at B&H, and you have to use the promo code, which is Wacom Khan. For the one by Wacom, the tablet one, you are getting $10 off. For the Wacom one, which is the display one, you are getting $40 off. And again, this is something you can get as an educator, and this is really an exclusive offer for you. Of course, also in combination with Explain Everything. Good. I think this is the offer what we have. Maybe just highlight one additional topic. We talked about Khan Academy, and this is part of the video contest of Khan Academy, and this is running already. This is running since the beginning of June until the 28th of June. But maybe Stacey, you can give a little bit more background about this contest and what the highlights are.
Sure. So the contest is create a video using whatever you're using. If you want to try out Explain Everything, now is a great time to try it out, because they are also offering a promo to give you unlimited access to for a month. So you can try this out, and you can try out all the features. And one thing that I do want to say, something that I've learned along the way, is that when you have the right tools and the right setup, I know some of this stuff costs some money, and I know that, it's hard to know what to purchase. And sometimes it just feels like we're purchasing all this stuff as educators. There's like so much demand to like get this and get that. When you can find the right tools that work for you, it is such a game changer. I have investing in the Wacom One is a tool that's going to last me such a long time. So this is a newer product, but I had before this, I had a display tablet, a Wacom display tablet since 2013 that I used until 2020. And honestly, that was still going strong. This is their newest device, and it's awesome. But what I'm saying is that it's a tool that's going to last you for a really, really long time. I also have a classroom set of the tablets that are like the one by Wacom, just a previous version of it. And I have had that same classroom set that I pass around to students in the classroom, again, since 2013, which is like, what other technology lasts that long? So, I have my Wacom One though, and I like the display because I'm using this thing all the time. I use it to take notes. I use it to lesson plan. I use it to make my videos. I have it plugged in on my computer. It feels comfortable. It feels good. So I use it all the time. And then, a tool like Explain Everything, you're going to have a monthly cost, but in that decision making, I think that you really have to think about the time saving that you might be saving yourself. If you use some of these other free video editing softwares, or like the free ability to screencast, right? You could use Loom to create a screencast, but it's not an all-in-one. So you're going to need to find another program to do some of the features that we showed today. You're also not going to have the ability to so quickly edit the video, because it happens all the time. Like, I know I'm speaking to educators. I know you already hear me. We mess up question 2, we need to re-record it. I don't want to have to go review and do a whole edit of the whole video. I just want to re-record that slide. Or what happens so often is I did example 2, everybody came to class and was confused. So for next year, I need to change example 2. I just want to swap out one example. I don't want to have to edit this entire video. And I can do that with this tool easily. So I forget where I started, except to say that investing in getting the right tools, and that's a real focus behind this contest, is trying to help educators understand what tools are out there and what can help you best get started, most easily get started. And if you go into the Khan Academy Teachers Facebook group, then I am in there to support you. Other people are there to support you. You can post your video, get some feedback on it. And so how can we help? How can those of us who have some experience with this help you out? That's a real goal behind this contest. In addition, there are some fantastic prizes. I'm done talking now.
No, great, Stacey. I think this is also maybe giving the bridge to the next point I would like to highlight. Stacey is going to have a Twitter chat on the 14th of June, under the hashtag TLab, and it is going to be 9 p.m. EST. If I have the information right, it's going to be on Twitter. That means if you want to join and listen again and chat with Stacey on the 14th of June, that means this is in 4 days, isn't it? Yes, it's in 4 days. Just join her and have really and continue the discussion and the chat with Stacey. With this, I would like to say thank you to Stacey and Reshan. Thank you really for the demo. Thank you for showing us how you are using this kind of tools, as I said, and make this really also tangible. Thank you for giving us the background information, also your experiences sharing this. With this, I would say we can close this webinar from our perspective. And if there is a winner for the One by Wacom, please use it. And if you won't have something, as we said, please just use the promo code, because it is going to be a dedicated offering for educators. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.